Good evening again, and if you'll recall, we've been working on the policy of the youth scholarship program. Also, if you'll recall, we've experienced a significant increase of usage over the last couple of years. This year, the anomaly being it spiked early on, and we were almost out of money. Just right out of the gate. This is the present policy as it stands now. Just to refresh you, there's no proof of need required. A parent or caregiver requests a scholarship, no city residence requirement, and no limits condition. I think I should have scratched that one. In May, the council added a $18,000 cap for this particular year, and that also included that any donations specific to other programs beyond that would be eligible to be used as well. The fiscal year 14 policy changes. We still had the no proof of need, the parent or caregiver, and no residency requirement, but the council recently added on a limit of 200 per person, 500 limit per family, the same program cap of 18,000, adding a donation tagline to our online registration program, and that through the budget policy or budget process we fully account for both revenues and expenditures. With the advent of even further huge increases in use, the City Council asked the Parks and Recreation Commission to take another look at possible proof of need options, and they did this, and we brought back the first of the four. I'm sorry, these are just a little out of order in how we brought them to you, but the EBT, the Electronic Benefit Transfer Program, SNAP, WIC, and the free or reduced lunch program are the four very normal, I guess if you could use that word, methods that people take care of business when they're in need. And there was concern that there are people in need that would fall between the cracks that weren't necessarily part of this. And so we were asked to go back and take another look at this. We came back with there's the survivor benefits that come with Social Security, and also possibly a signed letter, official letter from a social worker or a religious organization official or something of that nature. And then the catch-all would be the director or designee be authorized to accept other unanticipated proofs as they may arise. And we brought this to the to committee a week ago, and whoops, wrong clicker. And the Parks and Recreation Commission also had a recommendation that we have a residency requirement. And of course, with the cap, staff asked that possibly the Parks and or the City Council consider that funds beyond the city's funded portion of this still be eligible for non-residents in those unspecified donation or grants. So let's see, I guess that's it. And we had discussion. There was some concern about the last three. And with that, I guess we'll turn it over to you for any questions.
Thank you, Dwight. Council have questions for Dwight? Okay. Walter, the Public Works Finance Committee took a look at this.
Yes, ma'am, we did, and forwarded it to full council without any specific recommendation. We did have questions, as Dwight just said, regarding the last three, and made a suggestion regarding the second one, which is slightly different from the way it was presented to us in the first place from the Parks and Rec Commission. If I may just touch on what the committee talked about on those three.
Please do.
I don't remember that we had any discussion on the first four. I think those were not approved, but we didn't find them to have any real reason to question them. The fifth one, the Social Security recipient, I was the one that questioned that one on the basis that that is not a needs-based program. It, as I understand it, especially the way it's labeled with survivor benefits under 18 years of age, that is a federal program that's available to any surviving parent who the other parent is lost and there's a child under 18 years of age, and certain funds come to that family for that loss of the other spouse. I went so far as to get personal again and say I had a first through 12th grade friend who fit that category. I understood at the time that his mother received funds. She had remarried, and they were not, they were middle income family even without the benefits. So I questioned the value of that as a means test. Tom had a question regarding the number 6, the signed letter. I think it originally said from a social worker or a minister. Tom had a problem with it saying minister, and I think he's comfortable with it being changed to religious organization official. And on the final one, I had questioned Dwight prior to the meeting what he thought about the director being put in that position. And correct me if I misspeak, Dwight, but at the meeting you said you couldn't really see any way you could do anything other than say okay if somebody put you in the position of will you just plain let me have it or not. Is that correct?
That's the likely scenario, yes.
Yeah.
So it was no real, you didn't feel that the director position should be put in the position of
Saying no.
saying yes or no, and just say yes and we'll move on.
Well, it would be difficult. We would do. I would do what I needed to do, of course, if there was some ridiculous reason that was put forward. But I mean, you should hear the stories that come through there, and I have no idea whether they're true or not. The reason that we originally went with those first 4 was because they're already established. They're methods that are used just about everywhere, and it would eliminate staff from having to decipher through somebody's personal life and deciding whether they are needy or not. But we'll do whatever we're required to do.
That's the committee's report.
Just for clarification, I think I was the one who broached the idea of Social Security. I was actually speaking of SSI, which and I just looked it up here. It says Supplemental Security Income Program pays benefits to disabled adults and children who have limited income and resources. So in working with Stepping Stones, for example, some of the clients and participants have SSI, which is, and some of our
Slightly
residents
different.
probably at Independence Hill may also have that as an income source. So that's what I was thinking about, and that is needs-based.
So maybe it's a slightly different wording.
It's not the program
this.
that's on the slide.
That's correct. This is through Social Security, but it's
SSI,
called
yeah.
SSI.
Mayor,
Yes.
you're absolutely correct that is a possibility, but I know of 2 absolute instances where teenagers, young people, were receiving SSI payments and living within a family, an extended family, that was well into 6-figure income. So they absolutely did not have a need for having to use that. So I think it can be kind of ambiguous, I'm afraid.
Okay. Dan?
Yeah, and I don't care how comfortable Dwight is with number 7. I'm uncomfortable with putting, and I think the rest of us on the commission were uncomfortable with putting anybody in that position, whether it be the director or the designee, in the position to try and figure out what this other X factor is. Because like Dwight said, I would have a hard time saying no. I'm quoting Dwight. I'd have a hard time saying no to whatever because, how do you prove it? And we don't want to dig that deep into somebody's whatever
Or put our staff in the position.
Don't want to put our
Or
staff
put the
in.
staff in that position. So I'm okay with it all, if we change this to the SSI, so it's more, like you say, more of the needs-based like everything else up there, and delete the seventh one.
Okay, Tom, I saw your hand next.
No, I wasn't raising my hand.
Okay. Wayne?
Well, and I'm
Scratching my nose.
I'm also not comfortable with the fifth, the sixth one, signed letter on official letter from social worker, religious organization official. I'd like to see that struck. I think that leaves too much latitude, specifically on religious organization official. It doesn't define what type of religion, and we certainly don't want to get into that definition. So I think that I won't vote for it if that is in there.
Well, back when we were going through this the first time, we had the first four, and I think, Nancy, you broke the tie because you wanted one more. You wanted the SSI, and you owned the signed letter. I could go with adding SSI, but other than that, I'm happy with just keeping the first four. I don't think the last two are appropriate.